Welcome to Nugg Talk.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nugg Talk, a weekly podcast where we talk about everything going on in the NBA, and more specifically, everything going on with the Denver Nuggets. I'm your host, Loki, here with my co-host, Phil. It's playoff time.
It's time.
We're here. No more meaningless games with Marcus Howard, even though he did really good.
He did. Props to him.
But yeah, it's finally playoff time. It's the most stressful time of the year, but not as much for us this year. I think if you're a Nuggets fan, I mean, you're still stressed out. You want to win, but we have an uphill battle coming up overall in general, I would say, for the playoffs. But before we get started with all of that stuff, we do have to discuss the last couple of games we played. So we'll just get started. The first one was against Utah. We had played last Friday. We lost 127-120. Pretty pitiful defensive game, I remember, mainly because Bogdan got 40 points. Overall, just a really bad game. We shouldn't have lost it. In the grand scheme of things, I guess it didn't matter, but it was what it was. Do you have anything you want to say on that one? It was just kind of a bad game overall from everyone. It seemed like they didn't care.
Nah, it was just kind of, that's going to be a theme. They didn't seem like they really cared.
Yeah, that one was kind of weird. They just came out, they didn't show any effort, didn't seem like they cared, and obviously we're dealing with injuries, so I think that everyone was just not about it at that point. Then we came back on a back-to-back and played Brooklyn at home, the game you were actually at.
Yes.
A game we completely choked. You want to explain your experience watching the choke live?
They just kind of, it just looked like they didn't care. It looked like they did not give a fuck in the fourth quarter of that game. Jokic got in his head a little bit. He was really yelling at the refs. He got teed up.
He did.
That's when I left.
He did get fouled, though.
He did get fouled. He did
get fouled on the play, even though the 2-minute report said he got fouled.
He totally got fouled. But, we were super shorthanded,
Yeah.
We were missing Monte. That's just... It was a weird game. It was a really weird game. MPJ also did pretty much nothing in the second half.
Yeah, and that's the trend that we have seen towards the end of the season. He starts off really strong. He has these really good starts, but then the second half, he kind of just, dwindles away. Yeah. He still has overall a good game, but it's just there's no consistent scoring from him as there is from a Jokic or a Jamal who would score. Actually, I shouldn't say Jamal. A Jokic who would score all
Jamal
four
was
quarters.
Showing it, though.
Jamal was the other half of MPJ. Jamal would
pop off in the
second half. And that's why together they would have been perfect.
The ultimate player.
But it is what it is. Yeah, it has been the trend for him lately. My thoughts on the game were definitely one of the worst chokes we had this year because we were up 20 at one point, I think, and then we just completely choked it. And they shouldn't have gone back into the game. They did. It was really just unfortunate. And, I mean, you can blame the refs if you want, but we also fouled Blake Griffin on that rebound right before Jokic got fouled.
We did.
And you shouldn't also be blaming the refs if you blow a 20-point lead. That's on you and the team, and that's just really embarrassing.
This game would have had better implications had we had been fully healthy, and I really think we would have locked in a little bit more. But
even then, at the same time, it was a game that didn't end up mattering in the grand scheme of things again. It was a loss that was, able to take. I think a lot of these were just kind of figuring out where we're going to be standing wise. A lot of teams were doing a lot of trying to figure out how to avoid the Lakers. That's what we'll get into the further and further we go. The next game we played was an easy dub against Charlotte. I know it looks closer than it was, but for the most part, it was a pretty easy dub. We handled our business. Who would you give MVP for that game? I guess, again, excluding Nikola because,
Yeah, because Nikola. MPJ scored 30.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to him.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I would also give it to MPJ. Aaron Gordon also did really good. He had 17 points.
He had a good game. That was the other person I was looking at there.
Yeah, he had a good game, which is good to see because he has been very inconsistent as well in this third role. Sometimes he looks good. Sometimes he's non-existent. He's just there playing defense. And you're just we need more from you. So, it's good to see when he actually plays well against the team. And against that team, he did. And we got a dub. So it's pretty good. And then we went on to play Minnesota and just completely railed Minnesota because, they're tanking.
Tanking, yeah.
They're not even. They played their guys, but that team's just bad, man. I don't know what else to say.
They got some talent. It's really weird.
Yeah, no, Anthony Edwards is good. Cat's good. He's most likely gone, though. I would assume that a trade for him is coming either this year or next year.
I bet it's this year.
We'll see what they do, but I wouldn't be shocked if around the draft they start talking about Cat trades, just because Anthony Edwards seems like the new star of that team. You gotta build around him, get a new younger core. You can get something for Cat, like picks and stuff like that.
Yeah, they'll get stuff for Cat.
So I think it's definitely something that's gonna come up. But for this game, who would you say is your MVP? Again, we can't say Nikola, even though he had 31 and 14 and 4.
I'm gonna give it to JaVale. He got 12 and 13 double. He started because they rested MPJ and Paul Mills. Oh no, Paul played. Just MPJ, I guess.
Yeah.
He got double. I hope he plays in the playoffs.
Yeah, it was really weird that they rested MPJ, but I mean, why not? I mean, might as well have done it. We didn't really need him for that game. It's just kind of weird that Jokic refuses to rest. But as he say, Serbians don't rest or whatever.
Yeah. He actually said something earlier today, or yesterday, I think. He said they're like, why aren't you like resting and stuff like that? Like, is it prideful? Is it like a point of pride to play every game? And he was just like, I just think it's like a leadership thing. And he said like, I'm not hurt, so why would I not play, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a good mindset, especially when you're younger. I don't think people should be resting when they're younger. I mean, it's nice to have them rest just to like get a little bit, rest before the playoffs. But eventually, that mindset for him is going to have to change once he gets older and older. He's going to have to start resting some of these games just because these seasons, as you keep going, and if you keep going as far and deep in the playoffs as we hope to be doing going into the future, he's going to eventually have to start resting his body because you just can't, your body can't handle all of that, especially because he'll also do Olympic stuff with Serbia. So he's going to eventually have to change his tune on that, I think, a little bit. But for right now, he's young. He can handle not resting. And then my MVP will be Marcus Howard because he had 15 points on 50% shooting.
Fair enough.
Which is shocking. And you know what? I don't think he's going to be on the team really after this year. So might as well give him one before he leaves.
Yeah, fair enough.
So there's that. And then we went into Detroit. Again, manhound Detroit, 104-91. I think my MVP again for that one would be Marcus Howard because he had 20 points and 3 rebounds and 2 assists. And you know what? You know what? Yeah, I'll give it to Marcus. Marcus did good in that. He deserves it.
Sure, he scored 20. I'll give it to Marcus too.
So Marcus can have that. And then that game set up basically tank-a-thon. Everyone was tanking to avoid the Lakers. So it was between literally seeds 3 through 7 all could have changed in this last night. Everyone was trying to lose because they didn't want to play the Lakers. The Mavericks lost to the Timberwolves. They didn't even rest anyone, but they did the same thing we kind of did, which was start off playing serious and then the second half just like bench everybody. Same thing with like the Clippers. They were tanking for the most part. Then once they saw that we were letting the Trailblazers win, they decided, let's just go for the 4 seed, and we'll play the Mavericks, stuff along those lines. And then, as we said, Blazers beat us. We didn't really take the game seriously. We were down 20 the whole time. Put in our scrubs basically at the beginning of the second half. They put up a valiant effort, but
yeah, they only lost by 16.
It wasn't really a game we were trying to win. So, and then the Lakers won because the Lakers were trying to get out of the play-in, but they are in the play-in. So, everything just kind of panned out. We are now playing Portland in the playoffs, so a rematch of the Western Conference semis 2 years ago. And we're very familiar with this team. Yusuf's on there. We played them a lot in the past couple of years. But yeah, so now we're playing them. Everything's all set. We will get to talk about the playoffs soon. We'll do our playoff preview. But before that, a lot of people are trying to make a case against Nikola Jokic for MVP. And it's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
It doesn't make any sense. Everyone wants to say, LeBron wants to say it's Steph. Ja wants to say it's Steph. All the fans want to say it's Steph. Before I heard it was CP3 a week ago. 2 weeks ago it was Joel.
Yep.
It was never Jokic in other people's eyes, but it is Jokic because it's been leaked already that he's gained most of the first place votes. So most likely he's going to get it. But I have gone down into the stats just to discuss why he deserves it. I will first start off just on his own stats and own accolades that he got this season with himself and his team. So Nikola finished with a stat line of 26.4 points, 8.4 assists, 10.9 rebounds, 1.3 steals, 57% shooting overall, 39% from the field. He almost was 40. He started chucking some threes at the end. He would have been 40. And 87% from the free throw line. So basically nearly almost a 50-40-90 season.
Yep.
He just kind of didn't get it there enough. And then he also finished with a 31.3 per player efficiency rating, which is, after I looked it up, the highest player efficiency rating in NBA history.
Really?
Yes. The highest before this was Michael Jordan at 27. To like 27.2. I'm pretty positive about that. Granted, there could be some like weird things, but I looked it up on Basketball Reference. So come at me if I'm wrong about that, or go at them because they were my source. But yes, he had the highest overall player efficiency rating of all time. So that's one thing already to his case of why he should be the MVP, because that's insane. And usually that category alone usually always decides who's the MVP. Usually. There's sometimes some differences because of narratives and certain things like that. But that's one thing. The other thing for his case is if he didn't go down below a little bit with his scoring the other night, he would have been top 10 in the three categories of points, assists, and rebounds. He would have been the only player in the top 10 for all three of those. He just finished outside of the top 10 for points after last night's game. He went down to 11. But, I mean, come on. He's basically there. He's pretty much in the top 10 for all of those.
Yeah.
Secondly, now we'll talk about why these stats back up our team performance. One, we went from the 8th seed after we lost to Washington, like in February.
We were like 1-4 or something.
Yeah, and then we went on to win like 30 of 40 games and go to the 3rd seed. And that was all backed from Nikola's consistent play, because another thing for him, he never skipped a game, as we talked about before.
Not a single one.
He's the only person who hasn't missed a game that was an all-star this year, and he's the only one who did that. So that's another thing to his case. And then another thing for his case is the injuries that plagued our team. Not only was there Will and, MPJ was out with Corona at the beginning of the year. PJ's been out. We've had multiple. Monte's been out. Everyone's been out. But especially when Jamal went out, everyone ran off our team. I even thought that we were going to start, dipping in the standings and not playing as well.
I did.
But we went 13-5 without Jamal once he got hurt. And to be honest, we went 13-4. We tanked the last game. So
yeah, we did.
We went 13-4 without Jamal, which is even more impressive, and it was all led by Nikola Jokic. Now, granted, he did get help from MPJ. MPJ did really good.
MPJ was great.
He had the second most efficient 19 points per game season ever. Mm-hmm. It's a very specific stat, but he did. And then the last thing for Nikola Jokic's case is he had 16 triple doubles this year, only behind Russell Westbrook. He had the second most triple doubles. He's a center, and he was 6 in assists. So those are just his stats in general. And if you question that, I don't even know how you can question him being MVP just based off all of the things I've just said.
Exactly.
But if we want to compare it to other people, we can go ahead and do that. So you can name someone off the top of your head. I most likely have them on here. I did the 5 guys I think deserve to be on here. So you can just say who, and we'll just go with that.
Like MVP candidates?
Yeah, other than the Jokic that people have said.
All right, let's start with Chris Paul.
All right, Chris Paul. So he had 16.4 points, 8.9 assists, 4.5 rebounds, 1.4 steals, 50% shooting, 37 for 3, 90% free throw. He almost had 50, 40, 92, so we do have to give him props for that. He didn't get it. But his per was only 21.45. Granted, his team is the 2nd seed, but they're not even the 1st seed. That was what everyone was giving him credit for wanting to get the MVP, is that he took that team to be the 1st seed in the league. They didn't end up doing that, and Donovan Mitchell was out for like a month, and they couldn't overtake the Jazz, which I think is a detriment to his case, because the Jazz are missing their best player, and you guys were fully healthy basically all year, and you couldn't overtake them. Even when they had the tiebreaker too, and that's just like, I think that's a detriment to his thing. Not only that, I think against Chris Paul's case compared to Jokic, it's just the stats in general. One, Jokic got 10 more points than Chris Paul did on average game. 2, he was just behind him in assists. He was at 8.4. CP3 had 8.9.
Yeah. And
he's a center. He shouldn't be getting that many assists, but he does because he's basically our point guard. And then just in general, like, he's not putting up the numbers. He didn't have the PER. He didn't have the triple doubles. And again, his team was fully healthy while Nicola's wasn't. Nikola was carrying ours.
Yep.
So that's why Chris Paul does not deserve it over Nikola Jokic. Now the next person, you can say who's the next one.
I'm saving the best for last. So let's do Joel Embiid.
All right, Joel. I actually think he has the actual best case.
Me too. I agree.
Like, if anyone was going to get it that wasn't Nikola Jokic, I think it's Joel Embiid. Because Joel Embiid had 28.5 points, so he had more points than Jokic. Obviously, he doesn't get assists. He had 2.8 assists, but, that's not his game, so that's definitely not there. He basically had the same amount of rebounds with 10.6. He had 1 steal a game, 1.4 blocks a game, 51% from the field, 38 from 3, 86 from the free throw line, and he also broke the all-time per player efficiency rating. He has second. He's the second highest all-time at 30.38.
Yep.
Only behind Jokic. So overall, great stats. He had an amazing year. If Nikola didn't have his year, I would say Joel Embiid definitely deserves it. But Nikola did have his year. And the reason I'm not going to give it to Joel and it hurts him is, one, he only had 2 more wins than us in a weaker conference. Like, their team plays the Eastern Conference consistently more games than we do. We play the Western Conference, which, as we can all see, is a very difficult conference, especially when your team is basically injured for the whole year or most of the year, whereas his team, for the most part, other than COVID and other than him, was healthy for most of the year. But that's also another thing against his case, is that he was injured for part of the season. He missed a lot of games. I think that just hurts his case because Nikola didn't miss any games.
Yeah. I always bring this up to you, like, when we're not recording, but like Jokic has more double doubles than Embiid has games played.
Yes.
I think that stat held true throughout the end of the season. I would imagine so.
I would assume so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely a good point. Like, the availability, Nikola is just doing more on the field, and again, the triple doubles thing. I know that's not fair against Joel Embiid, but like, that's just the advantage Jokic has, is that he affects 3 facets of the game statistically. And they gave it to Russell Westbrook for doing this type of stuff, and I know he didn't average a triple double, but he was pretty near close.
Pretty close.
So even though I think Joel has a very good case, I don't think he deserves it. I think he deserves second in the voting. I hope he gets second in the voting. Last I saw, I think he was second in the voting. He was getting most of the second place votes. But I think him just missing the games and the fact that his record wasn't really that much better than ours, especially since we started tanking at the end of the year and we were injured. Like, if we were fully healthy and we weren't tanking at the end, I definitely think we would have surpassed the Sixers record. So those are just the things against Joel Embiid. Now, next, the last 3 people I have are Steph, Harden, and Giannis. That's the ones I've heard the most, so you can pick out of those 3.
Let's do Giannis.
All right, Giannis. He had a very good season. Overall, statistically, he did very good. He had 28.1 points, which was 5th in the league. 5.9 assists, which is pretty good for him. 11 rebounds. 1.2 steals, 1.2 blocks, 57% from the field, 30% from 3, which for him is not bad.
Yeah.
And then 69 from free throw, so nice. And then a 29.2 per, also broke the record beforehand held by Michael Jordan. Everyone was very efficient this year, I assume just because no defense was being played all year. But hey, that's what the league was this year. So overall, you look at his stats, he had a very good statistical season. Any other year, I think, like, if there wasn't a Nikola, there wasn't a Joel, I think Giannis would definitely be in the conversation. But there's 2 things that hurt Giannis' case. One, he's 4th in the West.
Yep. Or East.
Sorry, yeah. He's 4th in the East, or 3rd in the East. Is he 3rd or 4th? 3rd? He's 3rd in the East.
Yes.
Yeah, they're 3rd in the East, which isn't that even that good. And then, secondly, there's voter fatigue.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Like, that's not the main thing, but that's a big thing for him.
Yeah, they're not going to vote. They don't vote LeBron every year basically for voter fatigue, and they're not going to vote Giannis basically for voter fatigue. He already got his 2. He could get it next year maybe. He could get it 2 years from now. But this year he definitely had 0 chance of getting it just because of voter fatigue, because for some reason that's how the NBA fucking works.
Yeah.
I don't know why. They just
feel like they have to get to someone new every year.
Yeah.
And they should. But like, if he deserved it, then he should have deserved it. But he didn't deserve it.
Yeah, he didn't deserve it. But I mean, that's just another thing against this case is that they don't want to vote for him anyways, so they're not going to vote for him. But overall, Giannis did have a very good season on, a Milwaukee Bucks team that I would say underperformed for the most part, especially after getting Drew Holiday and everything like that. Because again, that team also was for the most part healthy all year. They had no issues. They should have had a better record. They did not. And then the last two, Harden and Steph. Which one do you want to do? You want to do Harden?
Do Harden.
All right. Harden had 24.6 points, which was pretty good, 18th in the league. He had 10.8 assists, second in the league. He was only behind
Russ,
yeah. He's only behind Russell Westbrook. 7.9 rebounds, 1.3 steals, 47% from the field, 37% from three, and 86% from the line. He had a 24.61 player efficiency rating. So again, overall, very good stats for the most part. But there's three things that I think go against Harden. One, he's on a super team.
Yep.
That's filled with KD and Kyrie. And I guess you can count Blake, even though I think Joe Harris is actually the fourth best player on that team, just because how well he's shooting from three. But that, I think, goes against him because, you saw what happened when the Warriors had their super team. They didn't want to give them MVPs just because they're supposed to be doing well. Of course they are. They have a very stacked team. The other thing against them is they didn't even finish first in the East.
No.
And they should have finished first in the East, especially because the Sixers, they had a lot of injuries, with Joel, and a lot of COVID issues. And for the most part, all the Nets did was just rest their players.
Yep. That's all they did the whole season.
And I know some of them were actually injured and they had to take time off, but other times you could definitely tell they were just resting them, or Kyrie just wanted to take a game off. And I don't think any team or that does that deserves to kind of get the player get an MVP because they're willingly taking those games off.
Is Harden gonna play in the playoffs?
Yeah, he'll be back. He'll definitely play. I think he might have played in their last game for a little bit, but I'm not sure.
I don't think he did. Let me check.
But I'm sure he'll be back in the playoffs.
He did not. Yeah, I would assume he would.
Even if he's not, they're going to win that series against whoever they play.
They will.
But also, the other thing against Harden as well, he was also injured for most of the season with that hamstring injury. So, again, availability is the best thing that you can have in this league. Nicola's the only person who didn't miss any games. Again, Harden's out of it, even though he had also a pretty good season. And then another thing, just personally, that I don't think Harden deserves it. He quit on the Rockets, and I don't think anyone who quits on a team deserves the MVP for the year.
You're not that valuable if that's the case.
Yeah, you're not a valuable player. You're not a leader if you quit on a team. Now, I get it. The situation in Houston wasn't that great. He found a better situation with the Nets. It's good for him. It's good for his family, I get it. But you don't deserve MVP if you've shown that you've quit on a team before, especially when Nikola Jokic is literally the most loyal person I've ever seen for our team. And then the last one, Steph, the guy who made the late push to get into these MVP conversations. Steph, basically, his stats are just scoring. Yeah. He had 31.8. He was the leading scorer. He was the most points per game this year. He was first in that. He had 5.7 assists, 5.5 rebounds. Nikola Jokic got more assists than a point guard who's actually a point guard. Kind of come on, that's one thing already against Steph.
Yeah.
It's Nicola's doing better than you at what you're supposed to be doing, even though we all know Steph Curry is basically a shooting guard and Draymond's a point guard, but still.
Exactly, yeah.
He shot 48% from the field, 42 from three, and 92 from the free throw line, so also almost a 50-40-90. He didn't get it, though. And then he had the sixth highest PER with 26.37. Again, Nikola beats him by far with his PER. Nikola was more efficient than him, except for at three, but he really wasn't even that far away from him at three-point percentage. He was at 39. Steph was at 42. And this in general, Steph's in the fucking play-in game.
He's in the play-in game.
He's in the play-in game.
Everybody, I know people like to say, oh, but he's playing with a bunch of bums. That team's trash, sort of thing. Yeah. You play who you're with. It's not our fault. It's not Jokic's fault. It shouldn't be a detriment to him.
And I don't want to say anything against our team, but it's not like Nicola's playing with our best Nuggets right now,
Yeah, exactly.
He's playing with, kind of just a knockoff version of our team, especially throughout most of the year. We didn't have Monte. We didn't have Will. We didn't have MPJ for part of the season. Gary never played when he was here. Aaron Gordon missed some games. Paul missed some games. Jamal tore his ACL, and we still won despite that. And I know that Steph made a late push to, get them into that, but he's the 8th seed. I don't think you can ever give the MVP to a guy who is in the 8th seed when there's a clear MVP candidate who's the 3rd seed, who went from the 8th seed, where all Steph is, to 3rd. So just in general, I think it's ridiculous that anyone's making a case against Nikola Jokic unless it's for Joel Embiid. He's the only one I say has a viable case, but I still don't think has a better case than Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic was the clear MVP. He was the most consistent player all year. He played every game. He literally does everything on the court. He scores, he passes, he rebounds. He's been a better defender this year. He's still not like anything amazing. He's not a Gobert. He's not Joel Embiid. But for him, he's gotten increasingly better from the defensive side of the ball. And he's just done amazingly this year. So he deserves it.
He really does.
And that's that. He's going to get the MVP. Nuggets Nation should be happy and very proud of him because he's going to, once he gets it, he's the best Nuggets player of all time. There's no debate on that. I know Alex English currently is, and he said, Nikola will have a good case if he got it. I'm sorry, Alex English. He deserves
something
it.
He's never done before.
And he's already taken us to the Western Conference Finals, which is the highest we've ever gone, even with Alex English. And he's going to get MVP. And he's going to continue getting All-Stars.
Yep.
He's the best Nugget of all time.
And that his case is only going to improve.
Yeah, and his case only is going to improve, and hopefully he'll stay with us for a very long time. But this is the MVP for this year. Everyone just deal with it. But yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed that little rant.
That was perfect because it's all true.
But now we will get into our playoff preview. The playoffs start tomorrow. The first play-in game is the East play-in games, so we will talk about those. The first one is Celtics against Wizards. Who do you think wins this game? Whoever wins this game will become the 7th seed in the East.
The 7th seed in the East, I think it's going to be the Wizards who are going to win this game because they're playing way better than the Celtics. The Celtics are kind of imploding.
Yeah, I think it's definitely also going to be the Wizards, mainly just because Russ is on fire right now. Obviously, he still has his efficiency issues when it comes to scoring and stuff. But I think for just a one-time game, he's going to be pumped. He's going to be ready to go. Beal is great right now. He's scoring a shit ton.
And Jaylen Brown's out.
That's the main key, and that's why I also pick the Wizards, just because it's just Jason Tatum versus Beal and Russell Westbrook. If we're going with the stars, their star power outweighs the Celtics, even though I think Jason Tatum is very good. I think the Wizards will win. And then the 9-10 game is the Pacers and Hornets. So whoever wins this game will play the Celtics for the 8th seed. Who do you think wins this game?
I'm picking the Pacers. I think they're going to rip them apart.
Yeah.
They have playoff experience. A lot of the players on that team do. And the Hornets just aren't that good. LaMelo's good. That's really, and Rozier is decent, but I don't think they play much defense. The Pacers, they have an all-star. So
yeah. I'm going to go with the Hornets. I think that the refs are going to help them out a lot.
I could see that.
I just think, the NBA wants money. We all know this. The refs are going to have a pretty favorable whistle, I feel like, whenever LaMelo gets the ball and goes to the lane. I think they just want the Hornets to get there because I'm going to tell you this. A lot more people want to watch the Hornets in the playoffs than they want to watch the Pacers. And also there's a lot of rumors about internal conflict going on with the Pacers and their head coach right now. Yeah. So I feel like the players might want to lose the game to get their coach fired. I don't know. This game is definitely a toss-up for me. I could see it go either way. I'm going to give it to the Hornets. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But let's say for your situation, Pacers, Celtics. Who do you think wins that one?
I will pick the Celtics.
Okay.
Just because
they should win.
They should win that game.
Yeah. I think that's fair. And then for me, Celtics, Hornets. I also pick the Celtics because again, they should win that game. Mm-hmm. Jason Tatum's good enough to beat both of these teams. So we both have the Wizards at 7 and the
Celtics at 8.
And now we'll do on Wednesday is the West play-in. And the NBA is literally salivating over this game because they somehow struck gold with LeBron and Steph in the 7-8 matchup. Who do you see winning this game to get the 7th seed and play the Suns?
I really want to say the Warriors, but it's going to be the Lakers.
Yeah.
If they're truly fully healthy, which it looks like they probably are.
Yeah.
So yeah, Lakers.
I also say the Lakers, but I will do my caveat unless Steph has 50 or Draymond gets over 10 assists, because that's how they always win games. But I just don't see that happening. The Lakers are a very good defensive team. They stopped us even without LeBron, like our offense, and I think they'll do a pretty good job. I'm sure Steph will get his, but I just see the Lakers winning. I would hope it's a close game. I also want the Warriors to win, but I just think the Lakers will win it. So Lakers will be the 7th seed, and then 9-10 is Memphis and San Antonio.
Yeah.
Who do you think will win that one?
Memphis is going to win that.
I also think it will be Memphis.
Like Pop will make it close, I bet, and like DeMar, he's a good player,
Yeah.
But like Ja's playing really well lately. He has they have a much better record.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think they're gonna.
Yeah, I also think Memphis is going to win. I think they're just younger. They're hungrier. They remind me a lot of our team, like, early on, like that year when we lost to the Timberwolves for the play-in game, basically. Like, basically the prototype play-in game. It's really funny we kind of started this. But, yeah, they just remind me of us. They seem very hungry. They seem like they wanted more than, obviously, like, kind of this aging Spurs team. I know there's some good young players on that Spurs team, but I just think they have more hunger for it. I feel like they're going to win. So that will set up a matchup between the Warriors and the Grizzlies for the 8th seed. Who do you see winning this one?
We saw what happened less than a week ago. Steph is going to torch them, and they're going to win.
Yeah, I agree. Steph's definitely going to torch them. He's going to get like 40 points, and they're going to win pretty easily, and they're going to get the 8th seed. I also agree with that. So those are our playoffs set. Now we will go over to the East. And we will just go through the East playoffs, and then we'll come back to the West and go through that. So the first matchup is the Sixers versus the Celtics. How many games do you see it going? Who do you see winning?
Versus the Celtics. It's intriguing.
They usually play very well against Joel.
Yeah, and Jason again is a good player.
Yeah,
this could be a really big breakout moment for him.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm going to say Sixers in 6.
I will say Sixers in 5. I think Jason Tatum's going to eventually run out of energy. I'll give Jason Tatum 1 game.
Fair enough.
I think he can definitely steal 1 game, but I think the fact that Ben Simmons is going to be pretty easily going to have to guard him now. Like, he doesn't have to worry about Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, he will be his primary defender.
Yeah, like, he just has to be like, okay, I got you. And I think that will just be the case for them. And also, Joel is playing extremely well. And I just think that Doc Rivers and Brad Stevens, like, it's pretty even. I think Brad Stevens will make more adjustments, but I don't think there'll be enough to just overpower the talent that the Sixers have over the Celtics right now. All right, so both say the Sixers win that one. And then 2-7 is the Nets versus the Wizards. KD versus Russell Westbrook.
Yep. Nets in 4.
I also think Nets in 4, but I think it will be chippy.
I bet you Russ is going to have a really good start. The Wizards are going to have a really good start in game 1. He's going to draw with KD a little bit, and then they're just going to get blitzed the rest of the series.
Yeah, I really think that it's just it's not going to go well. I'm sure they're going to get into a fight, that KD and Russell get into a fight, and that's going to be really why anyone watches. They just want to see that happen.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think it also will be a blitz. I also say Nets in 4. It's going to be a pretty easy series for them. It's going to be a pretty easy playoffs for them in general. But and then the next matchup, a rematch of was it the Eastern Conference semifinals last year of the Bucks and the Miami Heat. Basically, again, the same teams, except the only difference is the Heat lost some players and the Bucks gained Drew Holiday over Bledsoe. How do you see this game going? Who do you think will win?
This one's tough.
This one's a toss-up.
I don't want to sleep on Jimmy. I'm going to say Bucks in 7.
I will say Heat in 7.
All right.
So we both get the sides of it, at least at some point.
At least we got some differences.
But yeah, I think this will definitely be a close series. They're basically very similar teams, but I just think I just really trust in Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler is he's the only reason why I have this going to 7.
Yeah,
I could totally see him clutching it out too.
Yeah, I just think Jimmy Butler's going to do really good, and I think they have a really good game plan against Giannis. They know what to do against him. We saw what they did last year. They're just going to let him, try to take deep shots and stuff like that. Now, granted, if Giannis hits those shots, they're gonna win the series, but he has to hit those shots to win. And that's just for the Bucks in general throughout the playoffs. Like Giannis really has to make shots more consistently than he has been doing. But yeah, we'll see. You have Bucks in 7. I have Heat. And then I think the most interesting matchup of the East, the 4-5 matchup between the Knicks and the Hawks. I don't even know yet who I want to pick for this one because I was still thinking about it. But I think this is a very even series.
This is the best series of the first round in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely for the East, I think it's going to be a good one. It might be the best, first round series in general for the playoffs because it's two very even teams.
Same record.
Each one has a really good all-star. Who do you think wins between the Knicks and Atlanta?
I'm going to say Knicks in 7.
Okay.
I think just because they have a pretty good defense. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine the Hawks play much defense.
Yeah.
For looking at their roster, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to say Knicks in 7. I think Trae Young is going to have a little bit of a breakout, but Julius Randle is also having his own breakout in his own right.
Well, that's true.
People wanted him to be MVP for a minute.
And that one was ridiculous. That's just New York fans.
Silly. Yeah, that's just New York being loud.
That's just New York being loud because they finally made the playoffs. I think this will be a very back-and-forth series. I don't know who to pick still. You know what? I'll do it for Gallo. I'll say Hawks in 7, just for Gallo.
Just for Gallo.
I'll go with Hawks in 7. I don't know, though. I really think it could go either way. I think this is going to be a very fun series, really competitive.
Me too.
I think all of them could be very close games. I'm very excited for that series for sure. So we'll go through it for ours. So next would be 1 and 4. So we both had the Sixers, but you had the Knicks and I had the Hawks. So how do you see the Sixers doing against the Knicks?
I have the Sixers against the Knicks. I have Sixers in 5.
Okay. And it's just because
they're a better team. Yeah. Joel's going to eat whoever's guarding him alive.
Yeah,
Randall, they're better. They're better.
Yeah, they'll body Julius Randle. And it's a pretty easy matchup for them. Like, they have a pretty nice road to the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, I think if the Sixers don't make it,
it's pretty sad.
It's pretty depressing. And Doc Rivers is a very bad coach if they don't make it. Mm-hmm. But I will definitely go with the Sixers as well. I think they will win in 6. Just because I think Doc Rivers is not good at adjustments, as we saw last year against us.
True.
So I think they'll win in 6 just because talent will outpower them. But I'll give the Knicks 2 games. I think they'll put up a good fight.
You mean Hawks?
Oh, for me it's the Hawks. Sorry. I think the Hawks will still go to 6, though. I think they'll put up a good fight. I just think no matter what happens, like the Sixers will win that series pretty easily, though.
Yeah.
And then the other matchup is the 2-3 matchup. So for you, it was Nets Bucks. For me, it's Nets Heat. So how do you see the Nets and Bucks going? It's an interesting matchup, you know. Giannis, KD.
Giannis could go nuclear on them.
He could. They don't play defense. And Milwaukee does play defense.
Nets in 6.
I'm gonna go Nets in 5.
For Heat.
Yeah, because I just think the Nets are going to get there.
They are.
I think the Heat, they don't have enough. Like, Jimmy, like, he can play well and all, but, like, I mean, who's guarding KD? Who's guarding Kyrie? I guess, like, Jimmy can guard Harden or Kyrie, but, like, after that, there's just too much firepower.
And just for me, because the Bucks have a better defense than the Heat, I would say.
Yeah, they do.
It's just unfortunate matchup for the Heat because Bam is, like, where you want to, like, he's a good defender, you know?
Yeah.
But he wouldn't really.
He's kind of nullified in the series.
Yeah, he wouldn't really do well guarding any of those 3. So
yeah. That's why I think he's good in the Bucks series because he's a good interior defender, so he can help guard Giannis.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think he'll be able to like switch off onto KD or switch off onto Kyrie or switch off onto Harden. I don't think that's going to go very well for Bam.
Yeah.
I just don't think they have the talent to compete with them. All right, but we have the same ECF, Sixers versus the Nets. ECF. Sixers versus the Nets. How do you see that one going?
Nets in 6.
I will say Nets in 5.
Wow. Wow. You think they're going to blitz them, huh?
I think the Nets they're too talented.
They should win the finals.
I don't know that, but they're definitely too talented.
From a talent standpoint, they should.
From a talent standpoint, yes, because they have more players. But I mean, we'll get to it. But yeah, I mean, I just think like Joel is going to do really well in the series. They don't have anyone to guard Joel. I think he's going to do a great job in the series. But like Ben Simmons is where I just it stops for me. I'm like, Ben can't be the number 2 right now. he's not that kind of scoring option to keep up with like James and Kyrie while KD's going off. And that's where I keep coming to like hitting a nail. I'm just like, I can't see Ben Simmons helping Joel win the series.
No, like he'll play good defense, but like you need more than that.
Yeah, you need more than that from your second best player. And unless he starts, becoming a really efficient scorer and gain like near 20s every game, I just don't see them having enough firepower to keep up with the Nets, even though the Nets don't play defense and they won't be able to guard Joel Embiid. So, with that being said, we both have the Nets going to the finals, which is expected because I think everyone expects that. Now we'll get to the West. So the 1-8 matchup is Utah versus Golden State for both of us, and I really love this matchup.
Me too.
I'm really excited for it. Who do you think will win Utah Golden State?
Dude, I mean...
Donovan's been out for a very long time. I'm sure he'll be back.
I'm sure he'll be back too.
But he's been out for a very long time.
I want to say it. I'm going to say it. I'm saying it. Warriors in 7.
I also want to say Warriors in 7. I really think Utah is fraudulent.
They are fraudulent. And Gobert is not going to help in this series.
He's not. He's going to get fucking roasted by Steph Curry.
It's a bad matchup for them. It's a horrible matchup.
Yeah,
they should want LA. Honest. I mean, obviously no one should want LA.
Yeah, but LeBron does historically do really bad in Utah, so they should have probably wanted LA just because he doesn't win many games in Utah. He has like the lowest win percentage of any like away court against Utah. So yeah, I just think I'm sure the Jazz will end up winning.
Probably. They should.
Yeah, they should win, and we're both going to end up looking kind of like clowns, but
we're going to look salty. That's what we're going to look.
I just really want the Warriors to win in 7. I think it'd be funny, and I still could see it happen. I don't think that's like outlandish to say that the Warriors could win this series. But yeah, so we're both going to say Warriors. So
just for fun.
Just for funsies. Why not?
Most of these might end up being wrong. So
yeah, I'm sure we're going to get a lot of these wrong.
That's going to be crazy.
And then the next matchup, 2-7, Phoenix against the Lakers. These are the two teams I did not want to play, so I'm really happy they're playing each other. Mm-hmm. But how do you see this series going? CP3 versus LeBron, AD versus Ayton and Booker. How do you see it panning out?
I don't know. It's probably going to end up being like Lakers in 6. I think that's probably what it will end up being. I'm trying not to sleep on LeBron, but he's making it hard. So Lakers in 6.
I'll also say Lakers in 6. I think this is going to be a pretty hard matchup for them. I think CP3 does, usually pretty well against them. Devin Booker, he gets buckets. Aiden is going to be non-existent, I feel like. Mm-hmm. I feel like AD is going to shut him down pretty easily, and that's not going to work on the other end. And I think that's a big difference. Yeah. Also, LeBron in the playoffs is just another animal. Granted, he is coming off an ankle injury. We'll see if he can do it. There's too much history for me to doubt this man and what he's done. So that's why I say Lakers in 6. They will move on. The Suns and the Jazz, we both have losing, even though they're the top 2 highest seeds.
Insane. Probably won't happen, but whatever.
If it did, it'd be really funny. I definitely think the Suns will lose. Like that one I'm more confident than the Jazz. The Jazz one's more for fun. But I definitely think the Suns will lose. And then we'll skip our matchup for right now. We'll do that after. 4-5 is the Clippers versus the Mavericks. A rematch of last year's first round series that went to 6 games with Porzingis being out for like the last 3 of them or 2 of them.
And it should have gone to 7 anyways.
Yeah. So how do you see this matchup going? Knowing that the Clippers really ducked the Lakers even harder than we did because they basically tanked their last 2 games not to play the Lakers.
I'm going to say it because they're frauds.
I also want to say it.
Mavericks in 7.
Yeah, I also want to say it. I really think Mavericks in 7. Luka.
If Kristaps can play, if he just plays, they're going to win in 7.
Yeah, I just think Luka showed a lot to me last year because I didn't think he could show up like he did in the playoffs last year. Now, granted, that was a bubble. A lot of people showed up that I guess usually wouldn't show up in the playoffs, so you could blame it on that. But this kid has been popping off towards the end. He's been popping off just as much as Steph has, like, win-wise for his team. Like, they won a lot of games going into the playoffs. That's why it got kind of scary for us to play the Lakers, because they kept fucking winning games. But, yeah, no, I just think Luka can do it. He's not scared of Kawhi. He's not scared of PG. This is going to be a super chippy series because it's basically the same teams from last year.
Yeah.
The only difference is the Clippers now have Rondo instead of Lou Williams. But for the most part, it's the same cores, except like the head coach is different for the Clippers. But yeah, I think it could be a toss-up. It could go either way. The Clippers could obviously win, but I'm going to go with Mavericks in 7. I really think that Luka can pull this out as long as, like you said, Kristaps is healthy, his team is healthy. So we'll see how it goes. And now our matchup, 3-6. Like I said, a rematch of semifinals from 2 years ago that went to 7. Granted, we are very injured. No Jamal, most likely no Will, even though he might come back at some point, but we don't know. PJ is definitely not coming back. Monte's coming off of injury. How do you see this going?
If we had one more player back, it's not Jamal, because obviously no. I would say Nuggets in 5, but I'm going to say Nuggets in 6.
Okay.
MVP. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
MVP and MPJ.
Yeah. I think those are two definitely good things that we have going for our side, especially the way MPJ's been playing as of late. I will say, I want to say Nuggets in 7, but I'm going to go with my heart and say Nuggets in 6. I think no matter what, we should win this. I think we're still a better team, even with our injuries. I don't think Portland plays any defense at all. They're one of the worst defensive teams in the league. And we're not.
They are the worst, actually.
So there you go. And we're not bad at defense at all, and we just play a better style of basketball than they do. Now, granted, the reason I gave them 2 games and almost gave them 3 games is because of Lillard and CJ McCollum. Those guys have done really well against us. But I have a lot of faith in my boys Facu and Shaquille Harrison. They will be the MVPs underneath Nikola Jokic in this series.
They're going to be guarding them both.
Because they have to do a lot of work.
They should start Shaquille Harrison.
I think he will start. I'm pretty positive he will start. And if he doesn't, Malone will make that adjustment in Game 3 after we lose 2 games, because that's when Malone makes adjustments, is after we lose 2. But, yeah, I think he will start. But overall, I just think we're a more talented team again. I think we play better defense. And like Phil said, the MVP is on our side. I don't see us losing the series, especially since this is a series all Nuggets fans wanted. Every single Nugget fan wanted to play Portland out of the 3 teams we could have played. And we have home court advantage. I just think everything's on our side, and we should redeem the failure from 2 years ago, even without Jamal being with us. So, now with that being said, we have the 8-4 matchup. So it's going to be the Warriors versus the Mavericks in the second round for both of us, which is a very interesting series.
That's fun.
Who do you see winning this series?
Warriors in 7.
I don't want to say that. I refuse it. I say Mavs in 6. Mainly because the Mavs have already fucked them up by like 40 points once this year.
Yeah, but I don't think Steph was playing in that game.
He was playing in that one.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Well. I'll stick to my guns.
But
they probably won't. They probably won't even get out.
They
the first
probably
round.
won't even be there.
Yeah.
But it's this is ours, all right? But yeah, I just don't want to think that an 8-seeded Steph Curry could make the Western Conference Finals.
That's GOAT material.
Because if he does that, then like it really makes Nicola's MVP not look as good.
That's true.
So I don't want that. I think Luka will do it for us, and Luka will make his first ever.
I mean, they're probably going to lose in the first round.
They probably will. I think Luka will make the Western Conference Finals, even though it probably will be Utah.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be the Mavs. You think it'll be the Warriors. And then the next matchup is the dreaded matchup we never wanted, but it came because it always is going to happen. It's the Lakers versus the Nuggets. They won't have home field. We will have home field. That's nice. But yeah, how do you see this matchup going?
Lakers in 6.
Okay, why?
Because I don't want to say 5.
But why are they gonna win?
They have LeBron. They have Anthony Davis. They're well rested. LeBron's maybe still a little injured.
Yeah.
We don't have Jamal. If we had Jamal, I'd fucking go up against anybody and feel good about it.
Oh yeah, I would feel a lot better if we had Jamal, but we don't.
Like I would consider us favorites to make. I would consider us like I think we would have been good. I think we could have caught the Suns had we had Jamal.
Oh
stayed
yeah,
healthy.
we definitely could have got to near the first and second seed for sure if we had Jamal. I mean, we went 13-5 without him. Just imagine what we could have done with him.
Yeah. But I'll stick to Lakers in 6. I think the MVP is going to get us 2 games because I really believe that Jokic is that good.
I will say Lakers in 5, unfortunately, just because I feel like it's a really bad matchup. We've been over this before. We've seen what happens when we play the Lakers. We even played them without LeBron, and we lost. And we had 20 turnovers on them. And it's just mainly because AD, I think, is the only person in this league that can guard Nikola Jokic well. I don't think anyone else can really bother Nikola Jokic or give him issues, but he is. And then also on the other end, AD is going to make Nikola work on the defensive side of the ball, which is going to make Nikola more tired, and he doesn't have the backup firepower. And let's just be honest, MPJ is not going to do very well against LeBron James. So I think they're both going to do really good. I think MPJ will have some breakout games. I could see MPJ maybe score a 40-piece or a 35-piece at some point in these playoffs, throughout them. But I just don't see us beating this team. It's a bad matchup. They play better defense than we do. If they're healthy, they'll be better. It sucks we don't have Jamal because I also would have been a lot more confident going into it with Jamal and PJ and Will, even though, I don't really like Will. I would have felt a lot better with it, but it's just we're too injured to compete with this team right now, which is unfortunate because I really would have wished we somehow got to see them in the conference finals because depending on who we played, we could have got to the conference finals.
Yep.
But this was the worst team for us to play.
We also to avoid the Lakers till the WCF, we really want the Warriors to beat them in the play-in.
Yeah, that's why we want the Warriors to win because then we'd most likely play the Suns in this series, which would be really fun. And it would still be a hard task to do because obviously that team's not bad, but I feel way more confident about playing the Suns in the second round than I would the Lakers. But again, like Phil said, it all depends on if the Warriors win on Wednesday night, which we should all hope that they do.
Yep.
Because that would help us immensely. But yeah, so we both unfortunately have our season ending in the second round. But to be honest, with all the injuries that happened to us, it's kind of expected. And then the Western Conference Finals. So for you, it's Warriors-Lakers. So they went from the play-in all the way to the Western Conference Finals.
That would be crazy.
So how do you see that go?
Fuck, dude. I can't believe I had them beating the Jazz. Lakers in 4.
Yeah. All right, that makes sense. The joke ends.
The joke ends.
But yeah, I think the Lakers will do it. Mine is Lakers against the Mavericks. Lakers at 4, Lakers at 5. Doesn't matter. They're making it. Luka can't beat LeBron and AD. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll give him a good shot at it, but he's not going to do it. So, yeah. And now we have the inevitable finals that everyone expects between the Lakers and the Nets. Basically what everyone knew was going to happen once Harden got traded over there. So how do you see this finals matchup going? The Nets would have home court advantage.
They should win. Nets in 7. They should win. I know that they probably won't, but they should win.
They should win.
They're not going to win.
They're not going to win. It's going to be Lakers in 6. I just think, again, AD, they don't have anyone to guard AD. I've mentioned this before. Someone even said in the comments the only person who can really guard AD is Giannis, and I agree. Giannis, there's some other guys out there like Joel can kind of do it. Pascal can kind of do it. Bam, not really, but sometimes. But for the most part, they don't have anyone. They have literally nobody.
Maybe we'll find out that Aaron Gordon can do it.
That'd be awesome, but I don't think so because we already kind of saw that he can't. Yeah, I just think AD is the difference maker. I think LeBron automatically gives you 2 games for any series if he's healthy, and AD is going to get the other 2 for them. And they'll win in 6. I think it'll still be close games. It'll be competitive, but I just think the fact that the Nets play absolutely no defense is going to hurt them. It's finally going to catch up to them when they face a team that actually plays, very good defense. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say, caveat for us, if we were healthy completely and we made it to the finals, we somehow beat the Lakers and we made it to the finals and we play the Nets, I think we could have beat the Nets. I genuinely think we could have beat the Nets.
Yeah.
I feel that much confident in the fact that they also have no one to guard Jokic, that it would be fine for us to win that, because we've seen how Jamal and Kyrie goes.
Yeah, I really think that if we were fully healthy, we would have had a real shot to win the championship this year. I really do think that.
Yeah.
I think the biggest obstacle still would have just been the Lakers.
Yeah.
But I think we actually may have had a chance to do it this year.
Yeah, we definitely would have. They're definitely going into the playoffs hobbled, even though there's been people who used to play for them that's saying they're just going to flip a switch, and I believe that entirely. But still, I think if we were healthy, this was our best shot, this year. Unfortunately, the basketball gods only rewarded us with an MVP, I guess. I guess I'll take it.
I'll take it, but I'm not satisfied.
I'm not either. I would have preferred a championship, and I know Nikola would have too. But that is our playoff preview. I have the Lakers winning the championship. You have the Nets.
Sure.
It's going to be one of those two, so just get used to it. But yeah, that is our playoff preview. We'll come back probably at the end of the Blazers series. We might maybe do an in-between episode. I doubt it. We'll probably just come back at the very end.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how I guess this one won't be as emotionally draining.
No, because if we lose this one, I would someone asked me if you lost this series in the first round, would you be upset? And I was like, no, because we're too injured. I wouldn't care as much. It's not like we had hopes to achieve better things like we did last year. Last year, every Nuggets fan expected to go at least to the Western Conference semifinals and compete with the Lakers or the Clippers.
Yeah.
And then they exceeded our expectations. This year, we don't really...
We have to temper our expectations. You can't expect...
The highest expectation any Nugget fan should have is getting to the second round. Mm-hmm. After that, it's kind of just a crapshoot depending on who we play.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I won't be that upset. But, yeah, we will come back once the series is over. We'll go over it, talk about hopefully a second-round preview. If not a second-round preview, we will do our season in review episode, go over everyone's season, talk about things we would like to see guys improve on, talk about, Jamal and the future of him and everything. But, yeah, that's everything for us this week. Please make sure to subscribe, tell a friend, listen to us on all the podcasting platforms, and, yeah, enjoy the playoffs, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Go Nuggets.